The makers of Aunt Jemima, Uncle Ben, and Mrs. Butterworth all facing criticism and vowing changes in the wake of nationwide protests.
Yes, it's the end of what is one of the longest running trademarks and logos in American advertising. Calls for change came after this TikTok video viewed more than 1 million times, spotlighting Aunt Jemima's origins. Quaker Oats, which is owned by PepsiCo, in a statement says, "We recognize Aunt Jemima's origins are based on a racial stereotype."
Baby, you hungry? Let me fix you some breakfast.
Aunt Jemima?
Did you know the name Aunt Jemima means slave mammy of the plantation South? Did you know the founder, Chris Rutt, a white man, got the name after attending a minstrel show? Think blackface.
America, in the midst of this so-called racial reckoning, untold stories are coming to light. And tonight, a look at a woman born into slavery who would go on to create a delicious recipe many Americans have likely enjoyed. Her descendants hope in our country's push to right past wrongs that there's not an overcorrection and that her legacy can live on. Our Deborah Roberts reports.
Under the grass, it's barely noticeable, an unmarked grave, covering what for nearly a century was an untold story of one of America's hidden figures. You've probably never heard her name, but Nancy Green has likely been in your kitchen. Sherry Williams lives in Chicago's Bronzeville neighborhood and has been shining a light on Nancy Green's story for more than a decade.
Most people have no idea who Nancy Green was. Why is that, do you think?
I believe because she is looked upon as a character, as opposed to a living, breathing individual.
Aunt Jemima. Perfect pancakes in 10 shakes.
The Aunt Jemima recipe, created by Nancy Green, and with it, the birth of the American pancake.
Our beloved Nancy Green, known across the globe as Aunt Jemima, we are here to say we acknowledge you, we love you. We pray that your story remains important to all across the world as a testament to those black women who served in white households at the expense often of neglecting their own families. Nancy Green, we salute you, we honor you, we give glory to your name as a servant of God, as a minister, as a missionary for Olivet Baptist Church, for contributing what you had. Church moved into this edifice in 1918. They were already at 9,000 members.
Wow.
So he had
that was a mega church.
That was a mega church back in the early 1900s. And so Nancy Green would have been one of those who would have funded its move from its smaller location to this beautiful church. And so her timeline is connected to
keep on pressing, keep on moving, don't give up now. We gonna get to the high point, don't give up. Oh, every on the side.
And we honor her because of her sacrifices that she made in order to make certain that the ministry of Olivet Baptist Church continued beyond her years. Ashe.
Great legacy. And she also was at the 1893 World's Fair where she sold 50,000 pancakes. And established this brand of her own original recipe.
Oh,
the untold story of Bronzeville.
Ashe.
And we hold this and thank you, Sherry Williams, for a 15-year odyssey in which this lady found this gravesite and the history of Aunt Jemima over 15 years.
So we knew that it was going to take an incredible amount of research in order to find what was the thread between her being at the 1893 World's Fair and then ultimately ending up in this cemetery that had a very, I would say, painful history around segregation. At Oakwood Cemetery, there were times in which blacks could not be buried here. So there had to be an enormous outpouring of community in order for her to be buried at this very historic cemetery. Outside of Nancy Green being buried here in 1923, we have Ida B. Wells, who was buried here in 1931.
You have to know the context. You have to know what was going on in the time period, right? That's the important background that good researchers yourselves do. And I think that's really important to reflect in your bibliography.
Here I have in my hand the annotated bibliography, which I'm going to be handing to Miss Sherry.
Oh, thank you.
To put in with the project, so they would know what it's about and how it came to be, everything they need to know about the project.
Thank you. Well, Aaron and Val, I just want to say how much I appreciate knowing that young scholars are doing work that represents our communities, that talks about those figures who need to be celebrated. So when you guys did the Jemima project, I knew that it was something that absolutely needed to be here in the library. And so I want to thank you both for sharing your work and also for contributing. We have a guest calling, ladies. Nancy Green is here. Ooh. Thank you, Miss Nancy Green. Thank you.
It was so long ago I made this recipe. Quaker came and bought it from me. They named it Aunt Jemima. Well, that's what they called me, but you know my name was Nancy Green. And I was the first one to give them the recipe. People may not know who I am. Don't know my name, but just about everybody has had my recipe at their breakfast table. Don't forget, my name